This is AJ Wachtel. Welcome to my podcast, Wachtelligence, where I discuss with my guests the past, present, and future of the local and national music scene with a focus on Boston and New England. Today's episode, DK, Danny Klein, ace on bass for the Geils Band and Danny Klein's Full House, is about the iconic life and career of one of the best four stringers alive today. DK's legendary licks have been a staple of the world's music scene for many, many moons, and his remarkable rise to the top started out in Massachusetts, where his tremendous talent is still setting standards. And you can still see him and hear him play live and on stage today. Welcome to Wachtelligence, DK.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, I haven't seen you for a long time, but this is a big time for you, in a lot of ways. It's the 50th anniversary of the release of your Full House live album from September 26, 1972. How great is that? 50 years ago, huh?
It's not great if you're on the other end of 50 years, but it was good.
The album had peaked at 54 in Billboard's 200 chart. And, I've always had a question about that. The album cover shows a poker hand, but it's not a full house. And, the Queen is winking. What's the joke there?
Even did the album cover. And in the 70s, there's all sorts of, gay rights were starting and it was loosening up. So Stephen made that a full house because the Queen is winking, which means he could be a king.
Well, it's
that's really it.
Yeah. Well, that's funny, and it's also a play on the words. Full House is a packed concert venue, and speaking, historically, for the Geils Band, that was the first of the band's 3 live albums. And then you had Blow Your Face Out in 76, and then Showtime in 82, and all 3 were recorded in Detroit, with Blow Your Face Out also being recorded at the Boston Garden. Why, were your live shows so legendary?
I really don't know. We always had a lot of passion on stage, and we're tight. And I don't know, because it took us 10 years or about 10 albums to capture that sound live. And we had Bill Simzik, who's a legendary producer, working with us. And it was just elusive in the fact we're a live band, and that's why people came to see it. It's a party band, and we just couldn't capture that on that feeling on record, which is why we did the Full House, a live album. So we could communicate that energy. But now we have since Monkey Island and all the EMI albums, Seth produced those, and we got the formula right.
Why, like I said, Blow Your Face Out was partially recorded at the Boston Garden. But the rest of the albums were all recorded live in Detroit. Why were you guys so popular in Detroit?
I don't know, but it's our second home. We played Detroit. We played almost every college in town in Michigan. It just sort of adopted us. And Detroit has got that kind of rock and roll. You had legendary bands like Question Mark and the Mysterians. You had Detroit. It's a rock and roll town. It's a blue collar town. They loved us. We loved them. Still.
fella look at the eye, some fella look at the nose, some fella look at the side, some fella look at the clothes. Wait a minute, I don't care if the eyes are red, I don't care if the nose is long, I don't care if she's underfed, I don't care if her clothes are warm. Third eye, look at the birds, come on.
Well, getting back to the album was produced and mixed by Dinky Dawson, who everybody knows from the Byrds, and he also ran the channel in Boston for many, many moons. What about Dinky?
He did a lot of our sound on occasion too, and that's how I remember him.
Let's talk about the tracks. On side one, First I Look at the Purse, is Smokey Robinson's song. Why'd you start out with that song on the album?
I don't know why we started with that song on the album because it was a live show, and the first song is an up song.
Well, the next song is Homework, an Otis Rush song. Man, what about that?
That's a funny story because Jay, we collect records when we went around the country, and we were in Austin and very famous record store, or maybe San, I don't remember. It's in Texas. We found this single that was just Otis Rush and a sax player, and we took that and we made a song out of it with the band. And so I kept looking for years for the original Homework when I realized that there isn't an original Homework. He did one after we did. He did one after we did one, but that was funny. But it started with just guitar and vocal and sax on the record. We went from there.
And then after that, number 3 is Pack Fair and Square, and the 4th is Whammer Jammer. It's a band-composed song. It's a legendary song. You have it written in the credits from Juke Joint Jimmy. Who is Juke Joint Jimmy? Was he a real guy, or is that just a name you guys made up?
I refuse to answer that question so that the legend can continue.
That's funny. After that, one of my all-time favorite Geils songs, Hard Driving Man, Wolf at His Best. That's a Geils Wolf song. And man, you are so rocking on that, Danny. Man, the band is just a killer. You can just hear it in Hard Driving Man. What do you think about that song?
I think it kills me. The fingering and everything, but I've had a lot of people say that their favorite bass part. So
it might be mine too, but I have a lot of them of yours.
Thank you.
Hey, on side 2, you have It Serves You Right to Suffer, John Lee Hooker's song. And, what's the story with you guys and John Lee Hooker?
Well, he's a Detroit guy. and he's a legend. When for years and years, like the Motor City Burning, I don't know what to do. Oh, John Lee, but he's the essence of Detroit, and we would basically, some of us or something, if we were in the same town or something, would jam with him and stuff. So we got to know him a little bit. He's just a legend. It's an honor that I know him in person.
He played, John Lee Hooker played at the TAM in Brookline many moons ago, and Magic Dick showed up and played a few songs with him. And I always remember that. Yeah.
Oh, God, with the penguin suit and the harmonica chorus.
Funny. All right, listen, another great song that you guys wrote, the second song on side 2, Cruising for Love. That's a killer song, too. But the last song is another song that's a legendary song by the Valentinos, Looking for a Love. Man, every time I hear that song, every time I've seen the Geils Band play that in concert, what a showstopper. What's the story behind Looking for a Love?
Looking was, I think that, if I remember correctly, we started the bass line, we started from the Jackson 5, ABC, and changed it until it came there. But Bobby Womack, who was in the Valentinos, he had the first hit. He wrote it. And then after it came out, he did it again acoustically. So he got 2 out of them.
Hey, but how did you guys arrange that song? In the middle of it, it stops, and Wolf just won't let it go, and then you just restart it again for another 2 minutes. It's killer.
Yeah, we have a different ending now that we had before Giles broke up. A few years older, we do that ending. So we don't do false ending number 101.
Hey, what was recording the album like? I mean, did you guys go in there and just have it all set, or did you go in there and jam? I mean, what was it like recording the live album? I mean, were you guys all set? Did you know it was going to be a killer?
Well, we had a mobile truck that we had, and we recorded several nights, I guess, and didn't know what was going to be a killer in those days. We didn't know what we were doing, so we did it.
I just spoke to Rosie Rosenblatt, who also plays harp in your new band, your current band, Danny Klein's Full House. He's also known as Mr. Viztone. All you blues people out there know him as the owner of the blues label Viztone Records. He told me that you guys were once recording Don't Try to Hide It from 1973's Bloodshot album when producer Bill Simchek, famous producer, pulled down his pants and started swinging from the ceiling during the take. True? Is that fact or fiction?
If you listen to the cut, listen at the as we go fade out, or a little before that, you'll hear. I look up and see his ass swinging from the sprinkler thing, and I hit the floor and started laughing. And they didn't know what was happening. They opened his eye, looked, and he lost it. And if you're at the very end, Wolf looks up and sees it. You can hear him laughing as it fades out. You have to have fun doing that stuff.
Let's talk a little bit. You were born in the Bronx, and you moved to New Jersey when you were 6 years old. Where in New Jersey did you move to? I'm from New Jersey, too.
Bergen County. You from Bergen County?
No, I'm from Union County, from Springfield. Where are you, up right outside of New York?
Yeah, about 45 minutes north.
What town?
Hillsdale.
Oh, I know Hillsdale.
It's 168 on the Garden State Parkway.
All right, then you came up here and you went to school at the Worcester Polytech Institute. Now, how did you get to be a chemical engineer? I mean, you're a really quick-witted, smart guy, but chemistry?
I didn't get it. The thing was, by the time I was a junior, I still didn't have a train or whistle to blow or a funny hat. The fuck kind of engineer is that? I said the F word, sorry.
Hey, so the band started in that school with Magic and Jay Geils and you in 67. And you guys, you split up for the first time in 85. And beginning in 99, you had a few reunions. And Jay Geils died in April 2017. You first released several top 40 singles in the early 70s. Give It To Me in 73, Must Have Got Lost in 75, Love Stinks in 1980. And you did Centerfold, top 40 in 82, number 1. Freeze Frame, 80, and the same year, number 4. That's a pretty great record. In the 70s, you toured with B.B. King, Johnny Winter, and the Allman Brothers. Wolf once told me you were rehearsing in a house in Cambridge when Dwayne and Greg heard you guys and knocked on the window. And he said,
actually, we were staying off of Brigham Circle in a funky place, and Dwayne and Greg had squatted in the house on a house on the top of the street. And for that summer, and that's how we met them. They came over, and we would get together very occasionally.
Dwayne and Jay were good friends. Who did you get along with best in the Allman Brothers band? Were you close to anyone?
I wasn't really close, but I knew Dwayne, I knew Greg, I knew B.O., we did their first American tour. We opened for them.
I know that when they played in August of 71, a few months after the Fillmore East album was recorded, they played in Boston Commons, and the Allman Brothers band said that the Jay Geils Band was their favorite local band. Did I get that right?
Oh, that's nice. I don't know, but that's a really nice thing to say.
Well, I heard that many, many years ago. I heard a lot of things. You played with the Allman Brothers Band at the closing of the Fillmore East. Tell me about that.
Well, I tend to remember the atmosphere as opposed to the set. So, I mean, first of all, closing the Fillmore East is an honor. I have it hanging on my wall. But I didn't see daylight 2-3 days. And people whose names cannot be mentioned were sitting with me in a backstage at a long table. There would be a whole line of coke dealers, and one would come in and lay down with all the lines, and head guy, Dave said, well, no, I don't think so. And the guy would wrap it up and leave, and the next guy would come in. Stuff like that.
Hey,
it was the 70s, man.
Hey, you guys also opened up for Peter Frampton, Rod Stewart, and the Rolling Stones. What was Frampton and Stewart like off stage? Are they rock stars or just nice guys?
Well, we had the same management, Frampton, and we played with Humble Pie and some other groups he was in. And we had the same manager, and the booker, so it was that kind of, it was an okay package. Who was the other person?
Rod Stewart.
I tell you, the first time I saw Rod Stewart, he was singing for Jeff Beck. And Woody was the bass player and a terrible drummer. In fact, of course, played guitar. And Rod was really nice. I suppose I should say. And we would jam, and we would, and the piano and all this stuff. And then he became a star. He didn't know anybody.
So there's no jamming on the tour, huh?
Jam is like, it's a bad word. It's a three-letter bad word.
Hey, you know, in March of 1982, you had U2 open up for you guys.
After their first American tour with us, and they seemed like nice little guys, you know, and you know, just starting out, and then they exploded. He's a legend.
In June and July of 82, you went on a 2-month tour with the Stones. Wolf once told me it was a huge production.
Oh,
Tell me
God.
about that. Tell me about the Stones tour.
Well, we had played with them a number of times in the U.S., and this was their European tour, Hot Wheels. I don't know which one. And they had we did 38 dates with them. And it was great. I love the Stones. They're all down to earth. They're fucking brilliant. And, you know, I love it when Charlie Watts took a look at Stephen's drums. And he looked for him and he says, I don't have that much to say. Too many drums. But that was I don't know, one of the most important parts of my life was playing with the Stones and meeting them. I've always been a big fan. I don't know any Stone songs, but I've been a big fan.
You know, when you went on the Freeze Frame tour, you had the Uptown Horns with you guys. Did you meet the Uptown Horns from the Rolling Stones tour?
Oh, no, we knew them well before that. We used them a lot when we needed horns on something, an album or live or whatever. We always used them. Great guys.
You know, Arno heck just got into a bad car accident a week or two ago. He broke both.
Was it bad?
Yeah, he broke both of his legs. Get well soon, Arno.
Oh, I got to call him.
All right, I have a question for you. You know, the Geils Band, on May 22nd of 2006, you had a surprise reunion in the band for your 60th birthday, right?
Oh, Christ. Yeah.
Now, tell me about that.
Oh, my wife took a year setting it up, ex-wife. Got in touch with everybody on my contact list. I had no idea it was a year, and invited them all to the birthday party. And I thought I was playing a gig at Doubletree for the blind. It was like it was supposed to be a charity gig. So I walked downstairs, opened the door, and there's 200 people sitting there. It looked like a deer in the headlights. It was great. Valerie asked me what I wanted for my 60th birthday. I said to be 50 again. So if you look at pictures of it, it says happy 50th birthday.
Hey, I have a great birthday story about you. I remember once, it was probably about a decade, 15 years ago, your band, Danny Klein's Full House, was playing down in Marshfield. Right outside of, you walk outside of the club and you can look out into the ocean and see all the boats. Beautiful club. So I get there early and just so I could, you know, have dinner with you guys and party and catch up. And I walk into the club and there's 4 or 5 cute middle-aged women all gushing around you, and you have your back towards me. And they're all with albums for you to sign. And all of a sudden I go, hey, girls, aren't you going to give Danny a kiss? It's his birthday today. And all of a sudden, they all start squealing, and your shoulders hunch up. You knew it was my voice. and then you bent the girl over, and she goes, "Can I give you a birthday kiss?" And you bent her over like you were King Arthur's court or something like that, and you gave her a big smack. And her and the girls ran out the door, and I'll bet you that you made her life. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but it sounds like me.
It was funny. It was funny as shit.
I do miss the old standard of the 70s of signing breasts. But I'll have to settle for her autograph now.
Then we're gonna motivate this one. You gotta help her. Like this, watch. You heard of the Boogaloo? You heard of the Boston Monkey? You heard of the Philly Freeze? We got the Detroit Demolition here for you tonight. Baby, fly with me. Care at all.
I didn't go to the show, but the Geils and Aerosmith gig in 2010 at Fenway Park. Legend has it that the Geils Band blew Aerosmith off.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that.
Well, what did you think about the show, playing Fenway Park with Aerosmith?
It was amazing that, think of looking into the seats from the stage. It was a once in a lifetime experience. We had to go around the trucks to get to the stage in the dressing room. And there's two police cars and two motorcycle cops in front of us with the blue lights.
Yeah.
I said to the driver, I said, that's the only time you'll see blue lights in front of me.
Hey, what do you think about the new guitarists in the Geils Band after Jay left? Duke Levine and Kevin Barry. Is your bass playing any different playing with two guitarists playing those songs?
No, because when we had this thing with legal thing with Jay and stuff, actually, while he was still with the band, we got another guitar. We were thinking of doing two guitars for a number of years. So we did. And it was Duke. And then Jay left, and we got Kevin. And he's amazing. They're just all amazing.
When I moved to Austin in the late 70s, it was neighborhood legend that the Geils Band rehearsed in the Jim Did It Signs building on Cambridge Street, right? Is that fact or fiction?
Oh yeah, that's fact. We were gonna record there, except they built the fire station across the street.
Right.
Oh, I would think the fire siren going off the screwed take up. Or maybe not.
You know, Jay Giles, he had an unsuccessful lawsuit against the band over the use of the name for a tour without him after he left.
Yeah.
I once saw, I'm going to ask you about that, but, I once asked Jay in 1999 when you guys were doing tours and reunions again, I said, what do you think about the reunion? You guys getting back. And he smirked at me and said, it pays my taxes, AJ, for the year. And that's not really what a fan wants to hear. What's the whole story about?
Well, I'll tell you very simply. Jay doesn't like to do business. So he hooked up with this jazz guitar player, who's actually a plumber, to manage him.
Jerry Bodewin.
Oh, yes. And that's why, because he started getting big for his britches and wanted this and that and the other thing, and that's what started it and screwed it all up. So let's put blame where blame is due.
So you guys weren't on good terms at all when he died?
I wouldn't say that. It was his, the lawsuit and stuff, but he was getting a little less excited playing. He didn't really like all the people and stuff, and I don't know, but he was, I think, starting his downward spiral, and what happened.
I hear you. All right, the Jay Giles Band was nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2005, 2006, 2011, 2017, 2018. Care to comment on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Sure. I think it's first of all, it's not any big conglomerate like Grammys or something like that. It's owned by, as far as I know, people that are not affiliated with any recording thing. And then there's the thing of, do they want bands that revolutionize music, or because a lot of bands they got in, we blew off the stage, quite frankly. And if it's one-on-one, one versus one, in the Hall of Fame, then we should have been in. And if it's contribution, like yes, no bases or something like that, they didn't get in. They didn't get in. So I think it's a political bullshit. And the only thing positive you get out of it is the publicity and the tour, probably. And we have no band. So F the Hall of Fame.
So you have any message for the committee that votes on the new members?
First, you got to go to the committee and don't use your teeth, and get on the committee and get somebody that they know, and then that committee does the voting and all that stuff, and you got to jump through too many hoops.
So,
we have what we have, and that's for everyone to see or hear and make up their own mind.
You just said that you have no band. So is there any future for the Jay Giles Band in 2022? Are you guys going to ever play again?
Probably not. I'm ready. My bags are packed. Oh, it's not up to me. I don't think we will.
I used to go whenever you guys played for decades, I'd call up Paul Sternberg and I'd say, Paul, get me on put me on the list. I want to go see him and write him up. And he'd go, AJ, there is no list, but come by, I'll get you in and I'll give you a backstage pass. And, I just think that was just very funny that was the way I always got into your shows. Hey, so you don't think Wolf and Seth will ever write again together?
No, I don't.
Whenever I
Which
ask,
is a shame.
yeah, whenever I ask both of them, they all shrug their shoulders and say, "You never know."
Yeah, we play every 17 years whether we need to or not.
Hey, tell me a couple of the favorite Jay Geils songs, your favorite songs that you play on.
Now, that's a hard one because there is no one favorite, but it started in the first album and then proceeded. And we grew and we changed, and just there are things where there was nothing planned or anything.
Sit right to supper, baby. Sit right to be alone. Sit right to suffer. Sit right to be alone. Got me on a good day, but I know your good day is gone, baby. Popping pills by morning, drinking booze at night. 3 days later, baby, you're such an ugly sight. You got me feeling so bad, baby. You drove me out of my mind. You had me feeling so bad, baby. I was walking on borrowed time. Now wait a minute, this is the best part of the whole song.
You know, now I want to tell everybody how we met. I wrote a cover story on Wolf for the Beat magazine in the mid-'80s, and I got to know you guys, and you and I have just been friends ever since, and I've written a lot of reviews about you, especially now. Dan, you have a band, Danny Klein's Full House Band. You celebrate the music of the Geils Band. What's that all about?
Well, I am not finished with the Geils Band myself. I think it should go on. The music should be heard by people. And I have my own band, so I can play the songs they want, the Kyle songs they want, and and it's nice that all the other musicians are Geils fans, which are amazing and extremely talented. Without this band, the other people, it would go nowhere.
Do you guys do any original music or just Geils music songs?
Well, for the time being, it's 99% Geils songs. We try to play sometimes songs that were not really popular or
Right.
songs that I like, the other ones. And it's like me playing with this version of the Geils Band, so to speak, and continue to grow and change things. See, we're not a tribute band.
Right.
When a guitarist wants a different solo or something, we're an ongoing thing. And that's why I love it. I can play for love now because I ain't playing for money.
I saw you guys. The smallest club I've ever seen you play at was DD's bar right across the street from the Wollaston Tea Stop. You remember that gig?
Oh, no, I do not.
It was a small dive bar, and I laughed. It was walking distance to my house. I couldn't fucking believe it. I mean, it was wild. There's like maybe it was wild. It was a summer night, and I walked down there, and because I knew you were playing, they didn't do any advertising. They were a small dive bar. It was on Newport Ave. right across the street from the Wollaston Tea Stop. There had to be maybe 10 or 15 regulars in there, and me and the band, and you guys played for me. I loved it.
There you go. Got to play who's there.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, listen, let's talk about the band. You have Jim Taft on vocals. He used to play drums with the band with Artie Eaton singing, but Artie left.
And was the first drummer with the Fools long ago.
And you have Steve Gousset on guitar and vocals, Dave Q on keys and vocals, Jeremy Esposito on drums, and like I mentioned, Rosie Rosenblatt on harp. Jim told me a great story. He reminded me of Jim Taft. When I interviewed you and Rosie in Framingham at that bar, Karen Green, my friend, videotaped us, and she had a Cape Cod rock and roll show at the time. And I asked you why you put together the band playing Geils music, and I suggested that maybe you missed the groupies. And you quickly responded that most of the groupies you knew are now in assisted living.
Or dead. We're the only band, us and if Kyle's ever gets back together, which won't happen, that has more handicap spots than regular spots. We're gonna do the assisted living tour. They're sponsored by Benz and Viagra.
You know, Jim told me another great story, and I've heard this before, but you were playing an old gig, and it was a great show, and you had a great crowd, and you guys went off stage to the dressing room, and the crowd was calling for more, and you decided to go back out and do an encore. So Artie Eaton was singing at the time, and he said to the crowd that Danny didn't want to come out and do another song, but you were going to do one anyway. And then Taft on drums asked him over the microphone, what's to be gained by throwing Danny under the bus? And with perfect comic timing, you screamed out, traction!
I remember that.
You're very quick-witted. A lot of people don't know that. You could have been a stand-up comic.
No, every time I stand up to tell a joke, everybody yells, sit down. So I'm a sit-down comic.
All right. What's the web address for people that want to find out what you're up to?
Yeah, Danny Klein's Full House.
Danny Klein's Full House on Facebook. That's the way for people to find out what you're up to. Do you have any advice for musicians trying to get their music heard in these tough post-pandemic times? It's a hard life out there. There's no music scene anymore.
Well, last year, yes. I guess earlier in the maybe fall or something, we played 2 gigs. We got 35 people for one and 30 for the other. So people were obviously not going out. And we just played the Bull Run and sold out. And we just played jams and sold out. So I bet, my opinion is we're going to have the Roaring 20s, just like 100 years ago, and we're all going to get better. But as far as advice goes, do what you love. Don't try to copy what's out there. Don't make any formulas. Do what you love. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. I mean, that's playing it. But as long as you're playing what you want to and getting better, then do it. If you're doing it out of love, you can't lose. And better times are coming, but I wouldn't quit my day job.
Hey, DK, I'm going to ask you now the final question that I ask all of my guests for my Wachtelligence podcast. What was the first concert you ever attended?
You know, you asked me that, and I can't remember. I don't remember. It was the 60s or something. I don't remember. We were, at that time, house band for the Unicorn and the Psychedelic Supermarket. So it might have been Clapton or Electric Flag, or I really just don't remember. I'm lucky I remember what I had for breakfast.
DK, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to spend and talk to me. It was great talking to you again, and I can't wait to see you cats on stage again.
Okay, and thank you for having me, and let me know. I might even put you on the list.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Wachtelligence. You can connect with me on Facebook at Wachtelligence. Thanks to my producers, my son Harrison and David Schwartz, and Harvey Brooks for my theme song. Don't forget to subscribe.
I don't care what you think of me. Don't need no jailer to set me free. Don't want strangers filling up my cup. Don't need no advisor to show me down from up.